Hey guys, it's Tessa from HandleTheHeat.com, and today I'm so excited to be sharing with you my recipe for pumpkin bread rolls. Now these bread rolls look just like miniature pumpkins. They're ultra cute and super impressive on any holiday table. I'm going to be showing you exactly how to make them. So if you'd like to learn how to make these pumpkin bread rolls, then let's go ahead and get started. For this recipe, I'm using my stand mixer, but if you don't have a stand mixer, you can always knead this dough by hand. It'll just take a few more minutes. Now my first ingredient is 1 packet of instant yeast, which also equals 2 1/4 teaspoons. If you don't have instant yeast, you can always use active dry yeast. You just want to make sure that you proof it with the milk in this recipe for 5 minutes before you add it into the bowl. My next ingredient is 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Now this adds just enough sweetness to really complement the pumpkin flavor. But if you prefer less sweet bread rolls, then go ahead and reduce that amount to just 2 tablespoons. Next up is 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, which I've gone ahead and melted. And this will add a lovely richness and a beautiful taste and texture to these bread rolls. Next, I'm adding in 1 whole egg. And an egg also adds richness, a beautiful color, and it helps to tenderize the bread rolls. My next ingredient is 1 cup of whole milk, which I've gone ahead and scalded in this saucepan, which basically just means I've brought it to a boil and then taken it off the heat and let it cool to room temperature. You want to make sure that it's not too hot, otherwise it can actually kill the yeast in the recipe. If you're curious to know, the reason we scald milk in a recipe like bread is because heating it to that level actually deactivates the whey protein in milk. Now that whey protein can actually prohibit the gluten from forming in this recipe, and it can also stop the bread from rising. So you really want to make sure to take the extra few minutes to scald the milk. Now my star ingredient is 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree. Ooh, now you really want to make sure that you're using pure pumpkin puree and nothing with any added spices or other ingredients like pumpkin pie mix. And this just gives enough of that pumpkin flavor so that it tastes amazing, but not so much that you feel like you're eating pumpkin pie in bread form. Now I'm just going to use my spatula to stir everything together, and then I'll go ahead and add in the salt and flour. And the reason that I want to add in the salt separately from the yeast is because the salt can actually kill or lessen the effect that the yeast has in the recipe, and we want to make sure to avoid that. Okay, so 1 teaspoon of fine salt goes in next. And then my all-purpose flour goes in next. And whenever I'm making a bread recipe, I always like to use a kitchen scale to weigh out my flour because it's so much more accurate than weighing by volume measurement, like by using measuring cups. And when it comes to bread, accuracy is everything. So I'm just going to kind of gradually add in my flour so I don't end up with flour everywhere. And then I'll go ahead and give this a mix until it comes together in a rough, shaggy mass. Now after that has happened, I'm actually going to let the bread rest, the dough rest, just for a few minutes to allow the moisture of the recipe to be absorbed by the flour, and that's going to help to make sure that the dough isn't too sticky and that it doesn't take too long to come together. So I'm just going to attach my dough hook to my mixer and let the dough come together on medium-low speed. All right, so my dough has been resting here for a few minutes, and now I'm going to continue mixing it on medium-low speed for about 5 minutes or until it's really smooth and soft. Okay, so my dough has been kneading for 5 minutes now. I can see it's nice and smooth, and when I go to touch it, it's just a little bit tacky. Now I'd rather have the dough be a little bit tacky and a little bit sticky than add too much additional flour to the point where the bread becomes dense and it ruins the entire recipe. If you do live in a very humid climate, you may need to add some extra flour. Just start with a tablespoon and go from there until the dough looks kind of like what you see here. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer this dough to a new clean bowl that I've just sprayed with some nonstick cooking spray, and it's going to rise in there for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. And the amount of time that your dough takes to rise will depend on the conditions of your kitchen or your house. If it's really warm, then the dough will take a fast time to rise. If it's really cold, then it will take much longer. All right, so I'm just going to cover the dough with a piece of plastic wrap. You can also use a clean kitchen towel and let it rise for about an hour. You want to see that it's doubled in size, so I always like to use a glass bowl so you can actually see how much the dough has risen. All right, so it's been just a little over an hour and my dough has just about doubled in size. So now I'm going to turn it out onto my work surface, get some flour going so it won't stick, and divide it into 15 equal pieces. And I love to use my handy flour sifter guy here. I think it was actually originally made for powdered sugar, but it's perfect for getting just enough sprinkling of flour onto my bench here so that I can shape my dough without it getting too much flour on it and without it sticking either. So I'm just gonna use my bench scraper, which costs just a few bucks at the kitchenware store, and shape my dough into 15 pieces. And as you can see, the dough is super easy to work with. It's not too sticky. And even though the dough is pretty sticky, when I popped it in the bowl to rise, as it rises, it kind of loses that stickiness and becomes much easier to work with. All right, so I have 15 pieces of dough and I'm just going to go ahead and shape them into balls. I'm just taking the dough and kind of pinching it towards the bottom so I get a nice, smooth ball shape. And then I kind of roll it on the counter until it's nice and smooth and round. I'm going to do that for each piece, and then we're going to be showing you how to get that pumpkin shape next. All right, so I've got my paring knife here, and I'm going to use it to slice 8 slices into each ball of dough. And those slices are going to become kind of the lines that form around the pumpkin to give it that gourd shape. And the lines will seem really severe as you do them, but we're going to let these balls of dough rise again. And as they rise, they'll kind of puff up and really look like pumpkins. So what I like to do is just cut 1 slice into each side of the dough. And I want to make sure that I don't pierce through the middle, otherwise I'll just cut the whole thing in half. And then I go ahead and repeat the same thing on either side, and then add more slices until I get 8 slices total. All right, so all of my balls of dough have been cut into the pumpkin shape. I've placed them on a parchment-lined baking tray, and now I'm just going to cover them with a clean kitchen towel to let them rise again for about 45 minutes to an hour or until they're doubled in size. All right, so my rolls have been rising for about an hour and they look nice and puffy now. While they were rising, I went ahead and preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it's time to get these rolls ready for baking. I have my little brush here, which I'm going to use to brush my egg wash on, but first I'm going to take the blunt end of this brush and poke a hole into each roll, just through the center. And this is going to create the hole for the stem of the pumpkin to go. And we're going to use some pecans actually to mimic the look of the stem of the pumpkin. So now I just have my egg wash, which is just 1 egg that I've beaten with 2 teaspoons of water. And I'm just going to brush this all over each roll. And this is going to help give the rolls a really nice golden brown, shiny exterior and just a little bit of extra added richness. Okay, the rolls are ready to bake for 15 to 20 minutes or until golden brown. Okay, the rolls just came out of the oven. They look absolutely perfect, golden brown and delicious. The entire house smells amazing. And now for the finishing touch, I'm just going to take a sliver of pecan and place it into each hole of each bread roll to really give it that beautiful pumpkin look. Okay, so my bread rolls are all done. They're ready to be served. If you'd like to make this recipe ahead of time, which is perfect for the holidays, then be sure to check out the blog post for this recipe. I'll have full make ahead instructions over there. There's also a recipe for my honey cinnamon butter there too, which are the perfect accompaniment for these bread rolls. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with another bread-loving friend. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see next time, and I'll see you in another video soon.